Hi, I'm Siwan from MWR, and today we have Gerlando here for the Coordinator of the Election interview.
Hi, my name is Gerlando Guarraggi. I'm running for the MSU Congress as the new Coordinator of Student Advocacy. And
All
I'm
right, so
very excited to be here doing this interview. I'm super excited. I can't wait to get this going. So, Siwan, let's get right down to it.
yeah, let's go. So let's start with an easy question. Then what is motivating you to run?
Well, that's a very interesting question. What's motivating me to run? Well, look, I've always been a leader in in certain cases. I've always been a part of the student council in my past high school. So I've always been involved in student life, and so I figured I would carry on my love for service, for community service, right? And I would bring that into Marianopolis. And so now you ask me, well, what's motivating me? Well, I see there's a beautiful community here at Marianopolis, a very diverse community and a very inclusive community that I would be absolutely proud to represent as a coordinator of student advocacy. And so you ask me what's motivating me, it would be that the wonderful community here at Marianopolis and just the inclusivity of it all.
Indeed, the student community here in Marianopolis is very diverse. It's very fun. So as you may be aware, there's actually quite a few students running this time for student advocacy. There's actually 5, including you. So what sets you apart from the other candidates?
Well, what sets me apart?
Yeah,
Well, I could tell you right away. It's going to be my experience. It's going to be my people skills. It's going to be my public speaking skills, really. I I know how to communicate my thoughts clearly, correctly, properly, and I know how to listen. I was a debater for I think the past, give or take the past 6 years of my life. So when it comes to student representation, especially student advocacy, right? You want somebody who's clear, who's decisive in their thoughts, and who's organized, right? That's what sets me apart from everybody else because I know how to listen, right? I was one of the leaders at my high school, one of the student council leaders at my high school, and so we did many projects similar to this. We had open door policies, which we had students come in and we listened to them. And so another thing that would set me apart would be my experience. I've done this before. I think I do a pretty good job at it. And so I just want to bring that here. And I think that's what sets me apart from the Marianopolis, from the other Marianopolis student advocacy candidates. Not to say that none of them aren't good. They're all phenomenal candidates. And I'm proud to be running alongside them, and whoever may get the position, more power to them, good luck to them. And I'm going to support them 100%. Absolutely.
certainly experience is going to be very useful. Student advocacy is not an easy position. So what do you think is the most challenging aspect of your position, and what would you do to overcome this issue?
The most challenging aspect really would be, and I hope this wouldn't be the case, would be for students to not voice their opinions, to not be heard. I think that would be, it's almost sinful. You have a voice, use it for good, use it for the greater good of the people of Marianopolis, of us Marianopolites. That's what I'm here to do. I'm gonna be a tool for Marianopolis students to use. I would want them to come to me, have an open door policy, and let's work together. Let's work together in making Marianopolis a better heard community, right? A more inclusive community than it already is. We're just making something that is great just a little bit better. That's what we're here doing.
Yeah, and communication is really important, and it goes both ways. Especially in this pandemic, that wouldn't be, it's not the
Absolutely.
easiest.
And so you ask me how I would overcome this, right? Like I said, I would have an open door policy. But now what I really would like to do is to start a student advocacy committee, to have an actual committee. Because as one person, right, I can hear so many um, ideas, questions, comments, so on and so forth, right? What I would do to help me overcome this, let's say maybe an overflow, and even have a community outreach, would be to start a committee to help to really help in that, in sharing that message of inclusivity and community, right? That's what I would do. That's how I think would overcome this. Of course, this would be an appointed position, right? Which I would review and the other members of Congress would review. And this, like I said, would be to promote inclusivity and student success. Student success, that's what it is. And so this is really to have that open discussion, to open up discussion and debate and conversation. That's really what the position, if you want to boil down student advocacy, it comes down to that. It comes down to conversation, discussion, which I feel is very important, especially today, right? I think it's an important aspect for all Marianopolites alike to have their voices heard. And I want to help in that message. I want to help in that effort. And so, like I said, starting a committee, I think would be the best way to prop that up, to bring it just a little bit better than it already is.
Yeah, the student body at Marinopolis is quite big. There's all kinds of concerns, needs that you'll need to address. So getting committee started would be very nice. If one day a student comes up to you and asks you for some advice on how to best contribute to the Marinopolis community, what would you tell them?
That's a very good question. How they would help. Well, now we would have to define help, right? What's the problem to fix, right? The first step in solving any problem is recognizing that there is one, right? If there should ever be a problem, they ask for advice. I'd say let's have a conversation. Let's discuss what do you see in the Marianopolis community that ought to be fixed, that ought to change for the better. So of course I'd start out with a conversation, right? Get down to the nitty gritty, the bare bones of what's going on. And so, like I said, with my open door policy, I would be there all the time to listen to these concerns. And so, as we would have this discussion, we're going to work towards a solution, whatever the problem may be. We're here to work together, right? We're under a common roof, right? Even virtually, we're under a common roof, and that's where we can find common ground, and something I hope to use for the better, and possibly to help this student solve their problem or solve a problem in the school, if there should be. And so you ask me how I would offer them advice. Well, my advice is let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. And I think that's the best way. That's the best way that we can solve any problem, is just to talk about it.
Yeah, everything starts with a conversation. Suppose one day you have to choose between fulfilling your duties as a member of Congress and your duties as a friend. What would you choose to do?
It's a very specific situation.
Yeah.
You're putting me at odds here. Um, Fulfilling my duties as a friend and as the coordinator of student advocacy, I believe 100% in friendship. I believe in completing your duty, you know, as a member in the public. So you ask me this question, I would have to say it depends. You know, after all, friendship to me is the most important thing, right? And I'm not gonna lie to you or and say, oh wow, you know, I'm gonna fulfill my duties till the end, you know, even though I have a friend who may be in dire need of my help, of my assistance, of my comfort. You know, we're all human. We're all human. We may all be down in, you know, down in the rough one day, you know. There's a song called "Lean on Me" by Bill Withers. I don't know if many people know that. I'm a fan of old music, and so the song really it talks about friendship, right? Lean on me, right? Leaning on somebody's shoulder when they're in trouble, when they're in need, and that's what I'm all about. And in all fairness, that's what my position's about too. That's what being coordinator of student advocacy is not only being a good friend to your actual friends, but to even open up that friendship to others, which I find is very important, to open up that friendship and that kindness to others. And so I think I would hope that answers your question, Siwan.
It does. You're right. Congress members, well, you're a public figure at Marinopolis, but first and foremost, you're human, you're a student. Some things you just have to. Well, now another question. So what do you think you will need to accomplish for the student body for you to have a successful term?
What do I need to accomplish to have a successful term? Well, to me, success would be determined uh, by the success of the student population, right? I'm here as a public servant to the students. And so you ask what would make my term successful? For my term to be successful would be to leave Marianopolis in a better place than I had found it. And in all fairness, as much as it is a phenomenal school, it's a great school. Having things going online right now isn't ideal for anybody's mental health right now. You know, we're trying our best. Everybody's trying their best, flattening the curve. The vaccines are coming. It gives us some hope. It gives us some hope. And so next year, I hope things would be different. I really hope they would be different. And so to make it a success would really be to have a proper, smooth transition if we should ever get back to campus, um, or even to just continue to try and find better ways to improve our our quality of life, our in-school quality of life at home, right? That would be, I think, successful to me, that no student would feel uh, alone, hurt, unheard. That to me, I think that to me would be a successful term. And I know I'm being a very serious, but it's a very serious topic. It's something, you know, we should all talk about, right? Like I said from the very start, from the very beginning, we got to talk about it. And so if we could start talking, having more conversation, right? Then I think that would be a truly successful term.
It's a very serious topic to address, mental health of the students during a pandemic. But it's a very important one. It affects us very much right now. And I guess it's every Congress member's dream, I guess, to bring something more to Marinopolis to make it even better than it was. Well, I have one last question here. It's quite interesting. So, if you were asked to choose a historical figure upon whom your tenure is modeled on, who would you choose and why?
That's
This
a
may
that's
be.
that's a very interesting question. That's a
Yes.
very interesting question because I'm like a history buff. Okay, I love history, and so I'm just thinking it over, because nobody's ever asked me that before, right? Just even in like even just as a general question, you know.
Our team in MWR will be proud to know that you've never heard a question like this.
That's very good. That's very good. Um, hmm.
A few moments later.
To absolutely, if I had to absolutely to stay true to service, it would be. I think I'd say I'd have to combine two historical figures together to tell you the truth. To tell you the truth, because although they're very different in scope and in what they accomplished, I feel as though they would embody that they would embody the way that I would lead my campaign, and I would lead my tenure. Funny enough, I would have to mix the two. Winston Churchill, being such a proper uh, representative of his country at the time, who led his country during a war, and although there were certain negative parts to him, yes, he was he stuck true to his position. He was a leader. He was a leader after all. And so my second person who I would fit into this, just to balance out the evil, right, would bring in a bit of good, would be to bring in Gandhi, I think, interestingly, because he was a true practitioner of conversation, of listening, right? And if I had to choose one over the other, I think it would be Gandhi, because of how he successfully lived his life in constantly spreading that message of hope, peace, and conversation and listening and empathy as well, right? So yes, when I see your face, it was an interesting answer,
Yes,
but uh,
certainly.
but in all fairness, no one's ever asked me this before, so I don't know what to say. That's not a question anybody could prepare you for, right? And so I hope it kind of I hope it kind of fixes, like it kind not fixes, but rather it idealizes what I'm talking about here, right? And what I'm talking about is fairly simple: having conversation, being open to discussion, right? Like I said, the first step to solving any problem is to recognize that there is one, right? That's a common saying. But to recognize that there is one means you got to talk about it. Means you got to be open. You got to be to discussion and to debate and conversation, which is what I'm all for. And so I hope that I could leave, if I'm going to leave anything, if I'm going to leave anything to anybody here tonight, it's going to be that. It's going to be exactly that.
All right, so that was the last question. And thank you so much for that interesting answer. That was very nice. Churchill and Gandhi. I had not thought of that, but that actually does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, you would never find those two together.
No, I did not
No,
expect
I don't
that.
think anybody would have put those two together. you gotta pick and choose. You gotta pick and choose to fit to fit the proper description of what I think I would be like in my tenure. And that's how I feel. And you know what? Take it or leave it. I'm there.
Yeah.
In all fairness, at the end of the day, I'm there for the Marianopolis student body. I'm there. I'm there for the students. That's my campaign. I'm there for you.
All right. So that was a very nice conversation. It was a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you very much, Siwan. It was an absolute pleasure to have this discussion with you, to have this interview with you. You threw some very good questions at me. Thank you very much. It really made me think. Really made me.
Thank our team for that. They wrote the questions.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, good luck on the rest of your campaign. And I'll see you tomorrow at the debate.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.